You're listening to Coffee, Chaos, and ProdSec. I'm Karen Walters, an AppSec leader who rose to the engineering ranks and never quite left. And with me is Kurt Hendel, a security architect who has built programs, led teams through real incidents, and lived to tell the story with a straight face. We skip the theory and get into how security actually plays out in the real world. Grab your coffee and let's get into it. Coffee, Chaos, and ProdSec starts now. Hey, Kurt.
What's happening?
We made it. I got through the intro this time. Whew. We're gonna have to do some bloopers. Yeah. Change it up. It's gonna. I think for me, it's gonna take a little time to get that there. But for anybody listening, if you find this episode useful, rate us 5 stars, subscribe, follow, like, comment, smash the smash, whatever the platform gives you. Reach out to us on LinkedIn. Come say hi. Kurt does bite, so get ready for that. I did have someone message me, so we're gonna have to talk after episode. Somebody's messaging me, and they want to talk about us to have an episode on application or like product security breach metrics. So kind of looking at like the Verizon reports and all those other reports, and kind of just talk from a leadership perspective. And I was like, yeah, might be interesting. So.
Like what we do every day amongst the ranks of leadership. So it'll be like we're talking with our own leadership team.
Yeah. So, there'll be some, was it like metrics or therapy or something along those lines, right?
Yeah.
So, well, I know
scary
today.
Numbers.
Yeah, scary numbers. I mean, the numbers only keep getting bigger too. And they're definitely not following inflation. That would be cool.
Bigger is not better.
It would be cool if someone like mapped it and it's like, here's inflation percentage and then breach cost over years. Is it matching? That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Someone really does that and sends that to me. That would be cool.
Like make that a post. You'll get famous.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be interesting. Definitely tag me. I'll like it, comment, subscribe to whatever. Well,
I'll give it 5 stars if I can.
True that. So today's episode is, I don't know, like I love that our agenda, it's like we're doing like a therapy session. It's kind of what it says in there, like a ProdSec therapy session, talking about vendor fatigue, overlapping vendors, all the stuff that happens when you're dealing with tooling and vendors, maybe some distrust. I know we might get a little spicy in here. We have some grinds my gears sections, and I know I have some strong opinions around some of the things that I see when I'm talking with vendors. And I think it'll be a fun one. So, but first, what are you drinking?
All right, I'm still boring because the beans haven't turned over in the machine. So it's Blue Bottle. It's bold. It's delicious. It's coffee. It keeps me going. I'm on cup number 3. It's late in the day. This is not going to end well. So chaos is coming. Cameron, what are you drinking?
So I know I sent you a whole bunch of screenshot of all the coffee. I'm not drinking that one yet. I'm not drinking those yet. So we went to World Market, and they had like this whole section of crazy coffees. And so I just threw everything I could in my cart. There was a whole bunch there I didn't even pick too. There was like the churro flavored coffee. I'm still kind of, I don't know. I might go on that site and on their site and maybe purchase directly from them. But today I am drinking Black Magic from it's Coffee Roasters, Napa Valley, California.
Ooh.
So I did a pour over.
From the Best Coast.
Yeah, from the Best Coast. I did a pour over, and it's pretty good. I did like a little bit too, because we're recording at like 4:30 my time.
Well, when you get into the weird coffees, let me know. I was thinking if only bananas and coffee went together, we would have our own coffee called It's Bananas.
Hey, you're giving listeners something that we're going to do later, right? Well, eventually our podcast will reach a certain level that we'll have to have Coffee, Chaos, and ProdSec bananas flavored coffee.
It's going to take a while to get that one right.
Yeah. So just a little
Many
bit.
coffee tastings. The videos will be on YouTube.
Definitely.
Someday.
That'll be. I promise I'll get it someday. I'll get it out there. But let's talk about
the first blooper reel. Let's talk about vendor and tool fatigue. And sorry to all of our friends who are vendors that are listening. You're in for a treat.
True that. I mean, we could level set that nothing we're saying is about I wouldn't say anybody individually.
Individual.
Yeah, it's just kind of
experience across the industry.
Yeah, that we run into. Exactly, right? We run into consistent patterns and different problems that we deal with different vendors. It's just something that I think needs to be talked about eventually, that, hey, we got it. The vendors have to do a little bit better than kind of what they're doing right now.
Yeah, we all feel it. We just don't talk about it. And so here we are doing what we normally do.
True that. I mean, I do it a lot. Like my cybersecurity meetup that we do, a lot of people vent a lot about their tools and vendors and relationships. So, and then
Yeah,
some
but
vendors do show up and they get the brunt of it. Sorry.
it's a learning experience. You walk out of there friends. It's good.
Hmm. True that. True that. So, where do you kind of want to start? I was kind of thinking. I mean, what's the typical tool stack for ProdSec? I know from the AppSec slash DevSecOps side, code level perspective, we got SaaS, so static application security, software composition analysis, secret scanning, container scanning, API scanning, pen testing. Sometimes that's a tool. We have a DAS, dynamic application security, infrastructure as code scanner. Um,
I'm already tired, man.
I know. There's vulnerability management tools or infrastructure tools if you have actual infrastructure like Qualys. I always have to say that because a lot of people I think conflate, and that's one thing that I think frustrates me is people conflate or vulnerability management with tools like tools that scan infrastructure, not infrastructure as code tools, but tools that scan, essentially doing like nmap scans, right? They just do nmap
Yeah,
scans. They find the
it's system
services and
system
compare it to,
level.
yeah, system network level, right?
It's the system and network level scans versus like you do the software scans in the libraries and the code.
Yeah.
So it's like vulnerability management as a practice. You could argue it's all of that. But I
Yep.
think a lot of times people say vuln management. It's like, okay, well, I'm scanning my systems in the network and picking up CVs associated with whatever's on those boxes, and I've got to go fix them. Right. And of course, there's your security posture management or cloud security posture management, if you will,
CSPM.
everyone's favorite noisemaker. It's like a toddler with a drum set,
I
is
was
what I
thinking
think
a toddler
CSPMs
with one
are.
of those things that you spin, it's like on a stick and it was like, I
Yeah.
can't
It's just a
remember what they're called.
noisemaker.
Yeah,
I don't
noisemaker of
know.
some sort.
It's just a noisemaker.
There's got to
Or
be a
it's like
name for it.
the monkey with the cymbals and he's clapping. That's what
Yeah,
I think CSPMs are.
true.
Um, but we use them to get visibility, and they can do some good stuff. That's not to say they're terrible.
Yeah,
Um, there's a whole SecOps stack. We could spend a whole episode on what that looks like.
yeah. EDR,
Um, your endpoint
your SIM,
detection and response, your security incident and events
SOAR
management,
platforms.
SOAR.
I had to just sit
Don't
down and
test me
talk to
on
someone.
acronyms.
I know. I just had to talk to someone about SOAR because they were questioning. So it was at my meetup and someone was asking like, should I go into the SOC? But I'm an engineer. And I noticed that they don't really code, and I want to do stuff that still has some kind of scripting and coding. And all the job descriptions, there's like no code level in the interviews. It's not really much coding. And I was like, well, often have you asked them if they have a SOAR? And they're like, I don't know what a SOAR is, so I didn't ask. And I was like, oh, well,
Oh,
that's probably why. They probably might have
yeah.
a no code, low code SOAR platform, which is common in SOCs to
Go
develop
fast.
automation, but without having to learn how to completely build a full automation stack.
I don't know. I've met like every SOC analyst I've ever met has been in scripting and coding. It's weird to me. I don't know. Maybe
Well, they're
I
usually
guess
doing
that's
like
because I
Bash
come
and
from a
Python.
developer background, so
Yeah.
that's kind of the group that I ran with
Yeah.
for a while. Now I hang out in PowerPoint most of my time
There's
because
another tool.
leadership.
There's another tool. uh,
That's not really securing anything, but that one grinds my gears. Clearly, I love it.
hmm, it is a good one. But yeah, I mean, and then we have like ASPM tools. So tools that help aggregate your data and collect that into one location. Automation tools. You'll have adjacent tools like GitHub and where you store your code.
You have the
Container
CI/CD
registries.
pipeline.
Yeah. So the stack is pretty crazy. What was it? I was reading some kind of metric that most teams in InfoSec average like a 1-to-1 ratio at least with people to tooling. So if you have like 100 people, you have over 100 tools.
That's bananas.
That's a lot of tools. That's a lot of
That's too
tools.
many. I mean, that's I know we're focused on like product security and everything around that, but I mean, branch into GRC, they have a bunch of tools too. That's adjacent
Yeah.
to product security, and don't even get me started on the enterprise. I do it all, and I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. So we have all these different tools. There's so many. We have so many different contracts. It kind of makes me, when we talk through this, it makes me understand a little more why maybe companies and teams go straight for like platforms.
Yeah,
And I have some strong opinions on platforms. So you want me to you want to go first before I spill my
we've
platform?
we've talked about this previously a couple of times. I think there's a reason that we're seeing the industry shift towards platforms. It's the big dogs, I guess, Palo Alto, CrowdStrike. They're kind of leading that charge around platformization, and that's because we have tool fatigue. Why should I have 70 tools if I can have this massive platform? And you're going to have people in the camp of, well, if I'm putting all my eggs in one basket, that's a new risk that I'm introducing to the organization. Because we have seen one of those kind of put the
Mm.
world on hold for a couple of days before. So it's
It's a good time.
dangerous. But I mean, at the same time, like I'm a generalist in cybersecurity, right? So I do a lot. I go deep in certain areas, and in other areas, I stay higher level. And so you could liken that to platforms, is they do a lot, but generally, what we've seen is they don't do any of it well. And whereas I think you, in all my time working with you go for the best of breed. You want the best of the best for solving all of your problems. And this is where you and I can get into arguments because I'm like, I see the platform play. I'll use a platform, but I'm going to augment it in a hybrid approach to specialize where it's falling short if I have the money.
I mean, I agree with you. I 100%. I hate platforms. Every time I've gone into a company and they've had a platform and an AppSec or DevSecOps kind of code level stack, and usually you're sitting there with one tool that is pretty good, with like two or three or four other tools that are not so good, to be nice. It's very, very frustrating from that perspective. There's so many different problems. And what do you end up building? You build like a stack on top of the tool. And I'm like, at that point, what did the platform actually provide me? And then the other thing, oh man, triggered on this thought process.
There you go.
It
What we're
drives
here
me
for.
bananas is that they don't cross communicate. So many of these companies, they'll be like, oh, we do SaaS, we do SEA, we do DAS, we do container scanning, blah, 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 right? And then you ask if they have like cross correlation or reinforcement or like detecting down the line or just any kind of information, right?
Enrichment,
Enrichment
anything.
in any which way, right? And they're like, no, we haven't set that up yet. And I'm like, why am I buying you then? Like, literally, is it because I want to deal with one contract? Like, is that what it is? Is it cheaper? Do people get scared talking with vendors and don't want to deal with different contracts at different times? And so then they have to have, different POs and there's that headache. But I feel like that's just an automation, right? You just put on your calendar, POs are coming on these dates and you handle it as it comes. I don't, do you actually get a better price by going and consuming an entire company stock? In my experience, I think it's pretty comparable, but I don't know. I think I maybe I negotiate pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both do. We've seen some insane discounts that kind of blow people's minds. Like if you get an 80% discount on a tool, I mean, great negotiating. They wouldn't go there if they couldn't afford to give you that deal to get your business and work with you. But I think too, aside from cost, if I'm buying multiple tools and I have to buy another tool to tie them all together to make them actually useful, like that just it kind of it grinds my gears even more. Or if we have to build all kinds of custom automation, we're like, why did I buy the thing instead of just build it? And now we jump ahead to the buy versus build conversation.
Hey,
Like,
I'm on the other camp here. I'm on the other camp. I would like buying. I have an ASPM. I have an ASPM in the sense that this tool just consumes everything and puts it in there, not in the Garner category. We could talk about Garner. Very frustrating what Garner does, and
no,
the
as
everything. I still am annoyed that they merged ASPM with platforms that don't do scanning, and
Doesn't make
with the
sense.
ones they do, it's really annoying. But hey, we have an ASPM. I hook in a whole bunch of tools into it and do exactly what you're saying, as well as we
But
write
they
a
do
bunch of
it
scripts on
well.
top of them. Yeah, it's true.
And I'm
It's true.
not we're not gonna we can call their name out if you want. I'll leave it
Yeah,
to you. They actually do it well. And I think it started with the AppSec stack and it's grown into the rest of it, right? Because other tools have fallen short. And let's face it, at the end of the day, a lot of this fatigue is because I have to use 16 different things to solve the problem instead of one.
yeah,
And so if they do it well and they listen to their customer and they have the conversation to say, hey, what do you need to be more successful with your stack? And they go and build it in 6 months and turn it around and it works. Great. I want to keep working with that vendor
yeah,
because they have demonstrated the value.
yeah. 100%. So yeah, I'm sold, dude. I'm sold on that one.
And when it
Uh,
comes to like cloud security tooling, we're seeing similar tools emerge where they kind of become like a data plane between all of your tools and now can do the correlation and detection on top of it. So it makes SecOps lives easier.
yeah. I can see how that might be a little nicer. I'm going to say, and I don't know how you feel, but what drives me around our first category, which is tool overlap and kind of the overlap problem we're seeing, which is all these vendors are making platform plays or just acquisition plays. I don't know if I'm really liking what I'm seeing with ASPM platforms. ASPM platforms are scooping up and just becoming major platforms. So if you look at all the major ones, they all started in the cloud, and then they scooped up a bunch of startups and now are being like, hey, we're full stack in the sense that we do code level stuff and AppSec stuff. And then I go look at it, and to me, I'm honestly not too impressed on what it is. It's maybe better than something like super off the shelf and a super new startup, but there's a they're missing usually a lot of foundation stuff, and they overpromise like crazy.
Yeah, I think a lot of time, like the acquisition play, it's like we bought four different things and now we call ourselves a full stack and a platform or whatever. We could do it all. Like you could do it all on paper.
Yeah,
In practice, I'm still using four different tools because you didn't take the time to make it a cohesive experience and have them work together in truly integrated fashion to actually solve my problem. So
yeah,
you just made it worse.
yeah.
And now I'm going to go buy that ASPM that can bring all of those together and make them work.
Well, and like, what's the time that you're actually saving? Because a lot of the problems I have with these platforms is they consume all these tools and put them all together, and you have this massive overlap, right? Staying on theme, we have all
Yeah.
this overlap. There's two sides that I usually run into is from a leadership perspective, people who are not using the tools. So maybe like a CISO or a VP of
Yeah.
cybersecurity or something, right? They're not in these tools day in, day out. They're not working with the key stakeholders. And they come to you and they ask the question, why are you not using this platform so that we can actually consolidate? And then you have to justify and do that. And it's like, sure, that's my job. I don't mind doing that, but it's a frustrating thing that these companies keep purchasing, keep expanding, expanding, and I have to essentially debunk executive levels perceptions around what is a good tool and what is a not a good tool, especially because the first thing they usually gravitate towards is Garner. And in my opinion, I've found Garner is not that accurate. It's usually a starting point. It's a good starting point to be like, okay, these are some of the big players. And
Yeah.
I want to say that's the key thing. I said big because they're big enough to where Garner can pay attention to them, but there's so many other players out there. And you have to kind of correlate from multiple different Garner like platforms to better understand what's going on.
And I think there's so many industry analysts now too that kind of find different niches. There'll be some that are product security focused. There'll be some that are SecOps focused, and they're publishing stuff on LinkedIn all the time. Like, go look at my history of activity and see whose stuff I'm liking. You'll figure out who these people are pretty quickly. Cameron's not one of them. That's different content.
Brutal.
But still, well, if you want to be an analyst, I mean, I'll support that. That's not what we're here for right now, though.
True.
But in either case, like the overlap problem is I think it's real everywhere because everyone's trying to take a bigger and bigger market share to justify their existence and bring in more business, whether they're buying the revenue or earning it, whatever it may be. Putting my architect hat on, like we're constantly reevaluating the stack. Like I can't tell you the number of times I've walked into a room and been like, "We have three different tools that do the same thing, and so you are wasting $400,000 somewhere." So pick one, get rid of it.
All right.
And no one ever wants to.
There's just one thing I want to throw out there on that tangent is if you have Teams and you have Slack, it's okay to keep both. All right.
Yes.
You can keep
Although
both.
we know Slack is superior.
Yes, 100%. I had to throw that out
You
there.
can, yeah. Well, having experienced the loss of Slack for in favor of Teams multiple times now in my career, I'm a bit salty on the subject.
It's brutal. It's brutal. How about have you been encountering this in the tools that you have? All the AI stuff coming and crazing overlap,
Oh,
right? I
triggered.
know we can't go too far because we have other categories, but I'm starting to see a lot of companies where this may not be true. This 100% may not be true, but this is my feeling, and I have feelings because I am a human. And my feeling when I see a
What's the
vendor,
fear? No, I'm kidding.
I know, right? Well, we all know you're a robot, right? We get it. But my feeling is
That's out
that
of the bag.
that the vendors at times are like kind of, it feels like this vibe coding a whole new market, like into a whole new market. And so they dude, there's a new term that someone was like came up instead of vibe coding that was like more corporate. It was kind of like agentic, like software, like agentic engineering is what it was. And I was like, wow, what a interesting way to put vibe coding in a more, kind of corporate way. I wonder if that'll catch on. Let's see if that catches on.
Hey, way to cater to the buzz. Agentic everything.
Yeah, agentic everything. But
Oh god.
it
Well,
definitely feels like that.
whenever people get to see the video, you can see how hard I just rolled my eyes when he said that term. Like, wow, I had not heard that one before, and I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
That one's
But
going in one ear and out the other. I will never repeat it.
like that's the thing. I'm hearing a lot of vendors who are dropping it because they probably have the same mandate as all of us, right? A lot of us are running into this thing where corporate, our executives are saying you have to use AI, and so they're probably running the
Stop
same thing,
AI.
and so they're building out AI capabilities, and now they're causing all this overlap, and we're having to have a lot of these conversations. And the other thing that I'm starting to notice is they're starting to build and couple things together to where if you're not using that capability, you're actually hindering your current tool, which then makes me rethink my entire contract with them because I'm like, hey, I really like this, and the new thing you have, it's not like it would either take 6 months to a year to drop in that new thing, and I would have to, there's a whole bunch. It's not just like at times they're like, oh, it's just an easy rip and replace. I'm like, dude, it's not. Like I literally deal with code, and even if like I agree with you, probably the integration is the easy part. It's the operations. It's all the stakeholders, all the other people it's going to affect. I can't just do that. I have to get buy-in. I have to have the conversation. They have to let them know that they're going to have the they're going to have to hand the bandwidth to handle that. No, sir.
Yeah. Well, for one, stop giving me chatbots. They're all terrible. They never do what I want. I don't need chatbots. I have many of them. And frankly, the two or three I use are great. They work. If you want to bring AI features, like bring real ones. Give me agents that are doing things like you and I talked to a vendor this morning that's actually bringing agents that wear different hats and do different parts of investigation, and they build context and they work together to tell the story and say, hey, this is how you go fix it, or hey, I can actually fix that for you and here's how I'll do it. So if that's the case, great. Now when I do that evaluation of overlaps, maybe I get to consolidate a bit more, and that's because I'm actually being more effective with the tool. I'm not just using AI to say I'm using it and it's holding me back.
Yeah. Bringing the AI sledgehammer to everything.
Yeah, like it's I'm a big advocate for not just using AI to say I'm using it. Use it where it's either necessary or highly effective. Like use it in intelligent ways so that
Mm.
you actually get some sort of efficiency gain or what have you out of it. Like you can move faster, you can generate better outputs, whatever it may be. If AI can help you achieve it, great. If you're using AI to check a box, we know how I feel about check boxes, and I'm not going to say it.
Would you say that grinds your gears?
That's a good lead in to what you have in the next segment. It absolutely grinds my gears. Chatbots, giving me more chatbots grinds my gears. Using AI for the sake of using AI grinds my gears. I've
Mm.
got two. What do you got?
Uh, ooh,
Coffee. Need a sip
Cup of
of
coffee. I
coffee
need
for
a
this
sip
one.
to prep for that one. Um, One of the things that I kind of feel that grinds my gears around dealing with vendors is the overpromising. Um,
Yes.
and one thing that really frustrates me, and I don't think it comes from a dishonest place, at least I hope it doesn't come from a dishonest place. I think often it comes from somebody who is not technical, and that is usually, I'm not throwing shade at sales guys, but your job is to be outgoing and have a conversation and get people hyped about a platform and interested. um, and usually what comes secondary, at least that's how it feels, is that the actual technology and solving the real problem is not there. And it's usually this hype, and then they tell me they can do all these things. I go and look at it, and they can do one of the three things, uh, and that's a big problem, right? That breeds distrust into the platform or whatever their tool or vendor it is. But the secondary thing is that one thing that's really grinding my gears now, or at least right now, is how much AI is displacing and changing the environment. That us as leaders in cybersecurity, we're kind of looking for like a cure-all tool
Which
to
doesn't
which
exist.
doesn't exist. We have to purchase multiple different tools to cover our AI landscape, and I think people are really starting to wake up to that reality that you might need something that detects your corporate side, protects your corporate side from everybody who's using all the chatbots in your web browsers, right? The common just chatting to
Yeah.
Claude or whatever platforms. And then you also have to think about all your developer practices. What are they using in their IDs? What MCPs? What agents? What agentic workflows? What agentic engineering are they doing?
God. Clearly, you've been spending too much time listening to me talk to vendors about securing AI in the landscape because, yes, it's everywhere and no one can really tackle it with a one size fits all product. And now we're saying, well, we want an AI security platform. Nah, maybe if you do it
Yeah.
right. It's really hard to go say, I need three tools to tackle this one category of security because the executives are going to say, why? And unfortunately, I have to blame the technology that's available to me, that none of it can do everything I need. Right. So now making multiple business cases and prioritizing, maybe I won't get all of them. It's really hard. And then the vendor's sitting there like, what do you mean? We can absolutely do all that. And no, you can't. Like, I'm going to call a firewall every single time. The
What do you
identity
mean
play
API
is,
gateway?
yeah, okay. The identity play is a strong one, but it doesn't do everything the way that people think it does. No, it is not the new attack surface. It's the oldest one. I'll get that out of my system. You really grinded my gears. You know what else grinds my gears is when they say the integration or the migration is super easy, straightforward. It's quick. We'll give you free
Yeah.
pro services and we'll do it in 3 weeks. Like, you don't understand. I work in a 6,000 person organization that has a lot of moving parts. Yes, my part will be easy for my team,
Yeah.
but the 100 other people that we have to herd and coordinate with make this more complicated. Understand that context first, then
Yeah.
pitch me. I want
Would
the
it
reality.
would it be like, so I know like a lot of these companies give you as you said, like professional services. What, but they're usually technical people, like super technical. at times I'm like, I really don't want a technical guy person. What I need is a PMO. I need a project manager person who can come in and coordinate with all the teams and handle my day to day and make sure meetings are scheduled and we're on track. Not somebody who comes
Yes.
in and is just like, hey, this is how you should do it. Why are you doing it wrong, dum dum?
Yeah, like I don't need someone to write a script for me. Like I can vibe code or script that or agentically engineer it. Oh God, I've been corrupted.
Yeah.
I just- it just feels wrong to say it,
Yeah.
but I absolutely agree. Give me someone that can manage the program or the project and just coordinate everything. I'll give you the list of names. Go coordinate with these people. Here are the technical people. Let's go. Let's get it done.
No. Definitely would be more ideal. The other thing that really drives me crazy is tools that POC really well. And I think this is something I learned a long time ago, is that any tool that POCs super well, I should be the most worried about.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times that means I never hit any of the actual edge cases that I thought I would hit. And I will find out once I sign that contract and start to roll it out. And I think a general thing that everyone should be, it grinds my gears every time, but it's gotten into my brain now that anytime I have a vendor, that it's always going to have problems. Like literally, I've never been through a rollout where I didn't have problems. It was always a dumpster fire, like halfway through, where it's just like, how did this not come up in the POC? Right. And that's the question I keep asking in my brain. I'm like, well, that's because I didn't test it on 100% of my environment. Duh. I did it on like 10,
if you could
20%.
do that, you wouldn't need to call it a POC. You would just be like, I'm done.
Rolled it
Let's
out,
go
yeah.
into production.
I rolled
Like,
it out.
and
Done.
I hate that grinds my gears too. They always get sold a tool and it's like, well, when you're done with the POC, you roll it straight into production. I'm like, no, I'm not testing in production, man.
Yeah. Jump. Oof.
Like there's separation of duties is very real in that the dev environment, yeah, we have a little bit more freedom to operate. And then when you start touching prod in a regulated environment or uh, heavily compliance driven environment, like there's rules. You have to go through proper channels. It takes time.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. This leads me to the next thing, but it also grinds my gears. It's kind of a dual,
It's therapy, man. It all grinds our gears.
it all literally, this whole episode's just venting, isn't it? It's just a therapy session. Is when tools fail silently. And I think in AppSec, this happens a lot. And this is exactly to my point about tools that do POC really well, is that if a tool POCs really well, what that tells me is they usually have built their platform to not inform you of good, knowledgeable failures. And it's something only once you have used the platform for a decent amount of time do you start to, you feel it in your giblies. You feel it in your giblies that something's off, and then you start investigating and you're like, whoa, how did this happen? Right? Like in the AppSec world, most SaaS tools don't tell you how much code it scanned and skipped, right? Or what it couldn't render or couldn't understand. And sometimes they just don't tell you that. And in the software composition analysis world, a lot of these tools will just skip dependencies, even though they're perfectly declared in your environment or your package files, dependency files. It just skips it. Doesn't tell you, and it's like, hey, I scanned everything, and you're like, cool, I have only a couple vulns. That's awesome. And then later, XYZ vuln comes out, and you're like, I heard this in the news. I'm pretty sure we're using it. We are using it.
Yeah.
Why is it not
Why
showing up
didn't
in my
we catch
scan?
it?
Yeah, and then you find out, and you're like, oh, this whole time it's been skipping it because of XYZ billion reason, and there's no good alerting. There's no good anything. That drives me crazy is the silent failures. Oh, and it happens every time. Anybody who's in AppSec doing any AppSec tools, literally do the due diligence. Ask your vendors. Go ask them. Be like, how can you prove you scanned my entire code? How can you prove you picked up every dependency that you were supposed to? Guarantee you, if they say yes, oh yeah, like they just can't. A lot of vendors can't. And the ones that do tell you, oh, we skipped these ones, that's at least it lends a lot of truth and loyalty from my
At least
perspective.
own up to it. Like,
Yeah.
tell me what you can do, tell me what you can't do, and tell me what you're gonna do. 'Cause if there's a roadmap, like, I'm not gonna make a decision to purchase purely based on the roadmap. I need you to solve my problems now, and I'm always anticipating future problems. So I absolutely want to know what you plan to do in the future. And if you're gonna address my future use cases too, great, let's be friends. But don't sell me on your roadmap.
Yeah. 100%. And like, it drives me crazy. A lot of these tools will also just over report.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about this in the vulnerability episode and a lot of these other ones, exploitability versus reachability versus, actual risk, and how vendors are kind of incentivized to focus more on um detecting rather than finding actually valid exploitable vulnerabilities. I think as an industry, we're heading towards that direction. A lot of compliance frameworks are
Yeah.
starting to change to like exploitable vulnerability in the wording rather than just if you have criticals or highs, you got to remediate them, right? It's more determining if it's exploitable with a risk-based
Real
approach.
risk.
Yeah, real risk, right? They'll say it's a good point. They'll say real risk, and so you have to quantify what real risk is. The CRA that's coming out has said things like that. Like you have to ground your if you want to reclassify or change a risk, you have to have evidence to support that. But a lot of these vendors, they don't do that. The other thing that drives me crazy that's kind of happening around kind of tool fatigue is vendors will be like, hey, we just dropped in AI that contextualizes and grounds your vulnerabilities and does all these things that you've been asking forever. I mean, I mean, I'm happy that it's there, but I'm also frustrated at the same time.
Sounds great. Will it actually work?
Yeah. Well, and like, what are the knobs? What can I tune? What can I do? Because at that point, I'm like, why can't I do that? Couldn't I just grab like somebody on my team to go, hey, take all these findings and build some kind of textual engine that analyzes these and gives me a priority order and maybe reclassifies within the tooling.
Yeah, and then it has your context and all the inputs and things that you care about, and it's not just coming out of the box and being like, "This is what we think you should care about."
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
context is everything.
True that. Yeah. Dashboarding, dude. I don't know how you feel about dashboarding, but
I'm so sick of dashboards. Like, I love a nice, easy picture because I have a very short attention span with all of the things flying at me and around me and above and trying to build my architecture diagrams to look like planes. Come on, man. Requires focus that I just can't have. It grinds my gears. But in all seriousness, like dashboards, there's too many. Like there's a reason that we're on this quest to have a single pane of glass. And it's like, if I had a perfect, I don't know what a perfect dashboard looks like because there's 17 that I have to look at in any given day to
yeah.
answer two questions. It's just like, I don't know. Someone please crack the code.
Mhm. I mean, I see exactly where you're feeling. The thing that drives me crazy about dashboards, dude, is literally that every platform doesn't let you really customize the dashboards, and
Yeah.
they dictate what your video went out.
Oh no, I'm frozen.
You're frozen. Yeah, you might have to click some buttons. But back to it. The dashboards that it drives me crazy that they don't allow you to customize them in any which way. And so they predetermine what your kind of value is in terms of the actual dashboard. Like, what should it be doing? Are you trying to solve it right now?
So I'm so distracted by my video just being frozen. It's crazy.
It is crazy. You just have to
I'm like,
restart it.
it's just frozen.
So, but that's what if I could tell any vendor is that your dashboards need to be tunable in a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be, a million different ways, but you have to give me a way to quantify and change and manipulate and just do certain parameters based off what is being used in the actual tool.
Yeah.
The
I mean, I can't even think. I think I have one tool where I've ever been able to customize a dashboard, and it drives me bonkers. Like, it's bananas. And I have a data and analytics background to go with security. So historically, like, I've always just said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to take all the data via APIs. I'm going to build it myself, and then I get what I want.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like a lot of people I know, they take their data and put it in like Power BI or some like
Yeah.
scripting language or I mean with AI you could probably vibe code your own solution that's like a local one that you host internally into the company. You could probably build your own one that does that, but that's going to be a whole nother set of issues. I don't know, I wouldn't recommend that. So that becomes a
Yeah.
whole problem. But oh dude, risk score, how do you feel about risk score?
I mean, tell me the math behind it, or else I'm not going to use it.
Yeah,
You're just making up some magic score that you think the executives are going to see, or that I can put in front of the board. And then their first question is going to be, how did you get that? And I'm gonna be like, I don't know. The tool said it. Like, they're just going to tell me to leave.
yeah, true, true.
Doesn't work for me.
So Kurt, for you, are you a build versus buy person?
Depends. I guess there's a case to be made for both, depending on what your needs are. But we generally gravitate towards buying what we need and then building anything to augment it to make it better or close a small gap, whatever it may be. Like, I don't want to sit here and say, well, we bought a thing and then you know what, it didn't solve the problem, so we just went and built our own custom tool around it to make it work. Because now you just create that problem of, I have to have people to maintain it, and that's additional cost. Every
Exactly.
minute costs money, and then let's not forget about documentation and turnover and all the risk that comes with that. Like, if your maintainers all decide to leave, what do? You're
Yeah.
stuck with something that you don't know how to operate.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's always the big question. Um. Oh, you're back. I
Wow, the
think.
blurry background too.
Oh. Um.
Oh,
The thing that drives me crazy is depending on the individual, you'll have to justify that kind of operational cost, right? The ops cost, which is something I don't like to be in the ops game. In AppSec and DevSecOps, you do a lot of automation because you fundamentally have to. Every code
yeah,
base is slightly weird. You have to do a lot of tuning. You have to do a lot of drop your tools in certain locations, depending if you can actually drop the tool into the pipeline that assumes you have a robust DevOps team or a process at least. That can be a whole thing. So you're building all kinds of different things. If I had to build on top of that, like a dashboarding tool, oh my gosh, what would my team be really doing? Like, there's always that question. And what happens? Yeah, as you're saying, like, what happens if someone gets sick? What happens if something upgrades? Like, there's just so many more what ifs. Whereas if you have a vendor, your team can be focusing on other things and it's mostly hook in. They handle all the hooking in and all the other things. It's usually really easy. Just drop your API key in, click some buttons, give it 20 minutes to pull the data and boom, now you have some, stuff. And then you're actually moving towards ops work or operational work rather than, just operating and building your own platform. Mm-mm.
yeah. It's faster time to value, and then I mean, you streamline getting and growing the value you get out of the solution.
Yeah. But then
And
the,
that's why the vendor exists and built the thing in the first place.
Yeah. But then like a lot of people will be like, well, now you're vendor locked in, right? You're stuck with that
Yeah,
actual vendor. And I'm like, if you're
I
stuck
don't agree
in
with
that
that.
capacity, I agree. Like, I don't, if you're stuck in that kind of capacity, then you are, maybe you're missing some, certain skills within your team to unlock that. But it doesn't make sense to me. It's a
Yeah.
time factor, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, I can't ever say that I've had vendor lock in. Like, the worst of it is, oh, we signed a multi-year deal, and well, there's a better solution in the market, and I want to switch, but I can't because I have another year on my contract and I don't have budget to pay for two.
Yeah.
Like, if instead we solve the problem with one vendor and we've built so many, like if we've tightly coupled ourselves or built these dependencies, like we locked ourselves into the vendor by doing that. If you build your automation a certain way that you wouldn't be able to port it or modify it to work with whatever other solution, then I mean, was that the right solution in the first place? Or did you
Exactly.
just buy it because it was cheaper and then use it as a crutch?
Hmm. There's two things I want to say before it jumps out of my brain. Um, the buy versus open source, and then the other thing is we've both, I think, been through this experience where a vendor has said, "I'm you can't take me out. Like you can't rip our tool out. We're too
Watch me.
fundamental to your team." Like,
That's
ooh,
the beginning of the end for you if you say that to me.
right?
I will say that publicly.
We've heard that multiple times from different vendors, and oh man, like if anything, that just spurs a challenge. And I've
Yeah,
had
that's
CISOs
at
where
the
if they,
renewal. Watch
yeah,
what happens.
watch what happens. Yeah, yeah, we maybe we'll renew for one more year, but
Maybe.
oh, that is like that is the perfect words to be like, Cam's out. I am out.
Challenge accepted.
Right? Like this is supposed to be a partnership, and everything you just said there is not a partnership. Mm,
That's right. It's like you think I'm locked in. There's six other tools I can go purchase to do the same thing.
yeah,
And there's probably an open source one or two to go back to your point around buy versus open source, which I think is a really interesting conversation to have that I don't think we talk about enough.
yeah.
So
Mm.
what are your thoughts on it?
I'm conflicted all the time. I'm conflicted by it, especially in the AppSec space. There's SCA at least SCA at its fundamental and most crude. I don't want to say most crude level. There are free solutions out there that can be very powerful, but the problem is you inherit so much ops costs with that because the tool can't do most of the time reachability or its general functionality. Like it's just sometimes open source solutions, in a way, I feel are half baked. They're built for maybe a startup, but when you come into an organization with thousands of repos and have to manage all those vulnerabilities and that just I'm not even wondering just the data and the complexity that comes with that, owners, mapping tickets, handling all that, it becomes unmanageable. And you can't I just don't see an open source solution handling that. Um I don't know. I'm trying to think of like actual operational open source tools I've ever used.
Yeah. I I mean, I've never done it in a large enterprise because they generally want to have some level of support contract, which now you get into enterprise licensing. And frankly, we need it, right? We need the help. We need the dependents to say, like, hey, if it falls short, we need a guaranteed level of support to make sure that we're getting the most out of this and it's doing what it's supposed to do. um, with open source, you don't necessarily have that. I know there are tools in the world where, like, yeah, the tool is essentially free and you can buy support to go with it. But those are few and far between. I've never actually used one. But I also know people out in the industry that run their own sort of consulting practices. They'll come in and kind of do an assessment on the environment. They use open source tools like Prowler or Scout Suite. And I've seen a few of these recently. And it's like, they do a great job with those tools to come in and serve the purpose that they were hired for, but the enterprise doesn't want to adopt them. Or maybe you have a smaller like startup scenario or whatever. Like it's much easier because you get a foothold faster. You don't have the budget. There is something out there that will work for you, but now you have to invest more to support that yourself and make it work.
Yeah. I think it's always a question between people's time and the tool. Like you're essentially outsourcing that time because an open source
Right.
tool you're going to have to manage it, you're going to be an expert in it, you're going to be able to document it, you have to do all the I feel like a fundamental more work. than there is around an enterprise tool, which is they're usually trying to offboard as much work as possible for the customer. And then they're also your chatbot, right? If you have a problem, you can just shoot them a message and they're a
Right.
knowledgeable expert. You can call them and be like, hey, can you get on a call with me and show me what you're talking about? I have this problem. Open source solution, if you had some kind of issue, you got to hope that somewhere on the forums or somebody else has been through it or somewhere like that, which, the incentives are different there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you run into a use case that's not covered yet and you want to make a feature request, like you could do that in open source, but the maintainers are doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. Like they might get to it, they might not. People are going to have to vote on it and it's going to have to get prioritized. Or if you pitch it to a vendor, they're going to do the same thing. But they have an army of people that are there to support this thing and frankly keep building it. If you bring open source in and you're missing something, you're missing a use case, you either have to build it yourself or you're out of luck.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Good
there, I
points.
mean, it has its uses. It's certainly good to assess environments and solve problems to get started. Um, but I haven't run into a situation where I can run with it endlessly.
Hmm. Makes sense. Makes sense. So I think we're heading towards the last section, which I hope we got enough time. I like how we were like, oh, this will be 45 minutes.
Never is.
Never is, never is. What's one
Start
tip?
on a high note.
What's one tip that you could give folks around dealing with vendors?
Negotiate like your life depends on it.
Hmm.
I think people don't negotiate hard enough, and you often like you'll get a discount. You're going to get a discount just for existing and saying you have a limited budget, but there's always wiggle room. So you got to fight for it. Frankly, it's kind of fun sometimes, um, but you do your due diligence. Come up with specifics, data driven problems, and what's missing. Like use that to your advantage.
Let's just go back and forth. But the one I have is watch out for stair stepping contracts.
Oh God.
I do not like every time I see a vendor toss a stair stepping contract,
Out.
I'm concerned. I'm like, why? And you need to break down now you need to explain to me why. And then can we normalize this? Because that can get scary real
Can get
quick.
out of hand.
Yeah.
I think a lot of procurement teams, like if your company is big enough to have a dedicated procurement group, they are going to fight tooth and nail to limit the increase per year that you can be charged. Like, yes, inflation happens. Yes, cost of operating goes up, et cetera. So I get it, but 15-20% a year increase, no,
Yeah.
that's insane. Like I've seen procurement teams that are like, they'll write into the contract that the price will not go up more than 3% per year.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a good protection to have.
Yeah. I've even seen like again on negotiating, um, you can even negotiate that. Hey, after your contract is up, the agreement is that your renewal will execute, in some percentage rate.
Yeah.
Um, so that you, or like, and then usually in the terms, it's like with the agreement that you won't trigger like an RFP or something, right? And so if you're still happy with the vendor, maybe it won't go up. Maybe it'll go up 5%, but now you don't have to go through a whole RFP process. Um,
Yeah. I mean, you can also use that sort of, like I said before, is negotiate, but use a data driven approach. So beat the crap out of the tool and really dig in and test your use cases because you don't want to be the person that finds out 6 months down the road into a 3-year contract that, hey, this thing actually doesn't work. And by the way, they're not going to fix it.
hmm.
So test all of your use cases, do your homework up front, like create a scorecard if you like to be in Excel or whatever your favorite platform is, and make sure you cover all the bases. And then again, use it as negotiating points. And frankly, when it comes time for renewal, don't be afraid to go talk to the other vendors and use that as leverage because
I
they
was gonna
might
say the
solve
same thing.
all of those problems and do better and they'll give you a better price. And now, yes, migration takes work and takes time, but hey, maybe the existing vendor gives you an even better price, and then you save money and you have what's good enough for another year or
Yeah.
two or three or whatever it may be.
I was going to say something similar is that every renewal, you should always be looking at vendors, no matter what.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a full hands on POC, but you should be looking at, because the vendor you picked maybe 3 years ago may not be the same needed vendor today. And it doesn't mean you have to execute right then and there. It means you negotiate for a great 1 year price, and then you work with your key stakeholders or whoever was the reason for XYZ reason, eliminate that reason and build a plan to get off the tool and head towards a different solution. The other thing I was going to say is never trust a roadmap. It's either in the tool. Yeah,
all
it's
the
either
time.
exactly. If you're waiting for a critical feature, if it's not in the tool,
Not
it's
for you.
yeah. You just assume it's never coming. Literally, they could promise the moon to you, unless they're going to put it in the contract. And you better put it in the contract and have it very verbose, because
Have terms to pull the ripcord and have a parachute.
yeah, yeah. Like, I wonder if you could even get like payback terms on that and be like, if it does not show, like, you owe back XYZ, that would be interesting.
And I would never want to sign that contract if I was a vendor.
Yeah, true that. True that.
I don't know if the lawyer people would let me.
Yeah. What else?
Oh man. I think those are the big ones. Trying to think. Like formally saying what I just said again is like have a parachute, have an out, negotiate a way to cover
Cancel for
yourself.
convenience.
Well, yeah, if things go south and the relationship sours or the tool doesn't work for you anymore and you need to get out early, like you need to have a way out. Otherwise, you're going to end up in that situation like I talked about before where it's like, well, I need a different solution and I don't have budget for two. So what do we do?
Hmm. Yeah.
And now that's very hard to do. I will say that up front, but it's again, everything is negotiable.
Hmm. Yeah. That makes sense. The other thing I would tell people to be concerned about is modules. Look back at your company or the companies and tools that you're, or the tool vendor you're looking at, and look at their release history. Do they have a consistency of where they do improve the core platform, but anything that's new and interesting is an add-on? And start to look at how many add-ons you have. Add-ons, I wouldn't say are always bad, but you need to be aware of how many add-ons and understand the scope versus price of these add-ons, and does it even contextually even make sense? That's something I always look at, is how many of them are in there, and then where's their heading. And if they show you a roadmap session, ask the question. Be like, hey, what are the things that are coming down the pipe that are innate with the platform versus you guys are thinking that might be a add-on or something separate that'll cost additional costs. There are some add-ons that totally need to be paid separately because they consume XYZ more sources. Just make sure that you're aware.
Yeah, understand the licensing model, the consumption model. Some of these tools that we run into in the industry, they'll spin up additional infrastructure, and that costs money to run. So the total cost of ownership can go up exponentially if you don't do your homework, and then you get a surprise bill for hundreds of thousands of dollars that no one was paying attention to.
Yeah. And I mean, in the world of AI now, we're starting to see usage, right?
Yeah.
With AI, because everything needs tokens. You got any of those tokens, you're going to start seeing that. How many tokens do you need per month? That cost might go up exponentially.
Yeah. I mean, we see a lot of credit based systems with some of the bigger vendors already. And similar to tokens, you get a pre allocated number of credits and suddenly you're jonesing for more because you can't stop turning stuff on. Like you gotta plan ahead for that and negotiate in such a way. Like I typically approach those like, hey, I don't want to have to think about it. We know how big my environment is going into this, so I want a number of credits that covers this plus 10%
Hmm.
or allows for 10% growth per year for the next 3 years. And that's how you cover your future base, and you don't get the true up that costs $300,000 more than you thought it would, and
Yeah.
then you have to go negotiate and fight over it.
Yeah. I think one thing too is that a lot of people that I know don't know, when you have a contract that is scoped off like people, like number of developers, number of
Yeah,
operators, or whatever, always ask for a 10% buffer and be like, throughout the year, I can be above, with the maximum of 10%. And that's when you come kicking my door down, being like, hey, you got to pay more. But you need to have some kind of buffer because no company is stagnant and no developer team. I mean, that might be changing now with all the AI stuff, but I don't know. I think some teams are spinning up a ton more devs so that they can build out a whole new set of features using AI, and a feature or a functionality that used to take maybe 2 years. They'll hire a whole bunch of people and be able to spit it out in 6 months. And so your ops cost or your cost for per head is going up, and now you're gonna have to renegotiate, allocate that extra 10%.
have a contingency
Yeah. Yeah, and again, a lot of these things
always.
are just questions. Negotiations are open ended. You can ask for the moon.
Yeah, like I said, everything is negotiable.
Yeah.
So
All right.
use it to your advantage. But I think that's all I got in that space.
Yeah, my coffee's empty. I
Mine
think
too.
I've exhausted all the points I wanted. Yeah,
It's a sign
it's a sign. It's time to be done.
for
Fair
out of
enough.
chaos and coffee.
Yeah.
ProdSec never ends.
Unfortunately, 24/7.
It's
Well,
unlimited.
Kurt, anything else you want to say?
Wish I had more coffee.
Yeah, true that. True that. It's 5:30 here. I can't have any more, but I
No.
wish. All right. Thank you for listening. Please comment, subscribe, like, give us 5 stars, reach out to us on LinkedIn. Thank you for listening. This is Coffee, Chaos, and ProdSec.